Thanks, Rachel. Good morning, everybody. And behind me, you'll see your typical Fremont, California industrial park environment. So good to be talking to you from here. So Everest Labs, right? Very similar in some manners to what Chris was talking about with artificial intelligence, computer vision, robotics. But what I wanted to do is take a little bit different angle on the topic we're discussing today and really talk about how, SB 1383, the objectives are a major step forward in what I call the better recycling movement. My presentation today, right, we're not going to talk about compliance. I think that the regulations for compliance in MRFs and recycling and composting facilities is quite straightforward. It's all weight-based, and it's read the regulations. It's all there, and it's actually rather quite boring and quite simple to be compliant with 1383 for those facilities. But really, what I want to sort of engage with you this morning on is your ownership in the resource recovery and management arena of this overall better recycling movement. I imagine we can talk about a shared vision for a new level of producer responsibility, for corporate ESG, for accountability from generators, so on and so forth. This is really about innovation to achieve successful and sustainable recycling systems. And it's not just about counting or weighing material in a MRF. And so really what it's based in is it's going to be based in a strategy that uses foundational data for progress. So that's kind of a context about this that I wanted to start with. Let's talk about that foundational data. Those of you out there, and I see many names that I recognize. Happy New Year, everybody. Typical stuff where you're looking at systems that are going to serve communities, whether you're a program manager in that community, whether you're a recycling head of one of the hauling companies. But there's foundational information that everybody sort of looks to for establishing programs and understanding their success, waste generation rates, tons disposed and diverted, how many streams. 1383 is a big focus on collection, and do you go with a 3, a 2, or a 1 can system? What does all this cost? I think one of the keys to any of this foundational data, and this is really based on my experience, but it's that stream-specific waste characterization and contamination information. Where does that reside? Because it drives so much in your thinking about what programs are going to be effective, what programs are going to look like, what is their structure, how does that foundational data support, for example, rate change proposals that you might be making in cooperation with your hauling company as a hauling company alone. What investment do you need to make in either your processing facilities or your collection programs? What are the effects of those investments? Again, this is all about this foundational data, and this stream-specific waste characterization and contamination information really can make or break a processing facility performance, right? It's no mystery to everyone. I got to get rid of a little calendar item. It's no mystery to everyone, frankly, that a MRF or a composting facility is only as good as the material that goes into it. And, I'll comment on that a little bit more. But yeah, absolutely sort of make or break depending on what you feed that facility. I think there's quite a chasm, frankly, between expectations and realities of a lot of programs, particularly with what's collected at the curb, what the results are at a processing facility. And it's really about not only what's recyclable, but what's actually recoverable in a facility. And I think that, again, that foundational data right now is lacking as to what is recoverable or what has in fact been recovered in a facility, and what honestly remains on the belt sometimes. I'll show you an example shortly in that. At Everest, Chris had already talked about, computer vision and AI. if you go into a MRF facility or if you do waste characterization sampling at a transfer station or at a landfill, it's cumbersome, right? There's a lot of human labor involved. There's a lot of data capture. There's a lot of handwriting. There's a lot of weighing. There's a lot of assessing percentages. Um, there's limited visibility between you as program managers and recovery facilities. Are you in sync, right? What are you trying to capture given your program structure versus what are you realistically capturing in those MRFs? There's not a lot of affordable real-time feedback. It's really about bringing all these data sheets together, observations on belts, human observations on belts, walking through a plant, seeing what's inbound, what's outbound. Really a lot of disjointed data, and how do you come up with sort of an actionable or an action item to address that. So at Everest with our computer vision, again, you'll see similar material identification as Chris showed you. But we believe that, processing facilities are really the most affordable and reliable location to collect and expose this characterization and contamination data. It views and looks at each and every object. So it gives you a sense of, capture efficiency within a MRF. And this is certainly something that Everest Labs is really leading kind of the industry on, and that is, customized automated reports. How well are your systems doing throughout the MRF ecosystem? Let's take a look at a kind of an example pattern graph, right? If you're interested in some really high value materials, I know this isn't organics, but the reality of a 1383 program is, while there's a big focus on organics, you're not ignoring or stepping away from your other recycling programs, your other what I would call your high dollar materials that you're really looking to capture, your CRV materials. Just take a look at the power of computer vision so you can get a sense of how that looks throughout the day of what's inbound into the MRF. Allows you to kind of step back and assess, does it matter at the end of the day, what sort of routes we're running, or do morning routes seem to be a little bit more rich in material or not? How do we address that within a MRF environment? How do we perhaps change a collection program that's on the front end of what's sort of contributing to these pattern changes? A lot of incredible information can be gathered in a MRF just by understanding, again, not the weights of organics, not this compliance and weighing bucketfuls of different stuff at your facility, which is what 1383 requires and you have to do, but more of what's realistically going on in a MRF and the impact that my programs are having on it. Computer vision, it's that foundational characterization and contamination data capture. As I mentioned, we're in Everest Labs is in several MRFs, both private and municipally owned or publicly owned. You can track rollouts of programs and capital improvements, automated reporting functions for 1383 and 901, which everybody is accountable for now. I show a graph here, for example. This was a program change that resulted in a different or an improved or otherwise enhanced material stream coming into a MRF, and it allowed the MRF equipment to perform better. And you can see the results. And what's interesting, exciting, hopefully useful for you in this kind of information is, what were the results of my investment? What were the results of my program? I went to my city council and I asked them for their support in a rate change or for a capital investment. And I really want to see the detailed results of that. And I want to see it on an ongoing basis. Okay. So if you have computer vision in your recycling facilities, you get, if the belt's running, you get information, right? And you can track this over time and really get a better sense on an ongoing basis of how well those program or those capital investments, their improvements have been sticky or not. So again, just a little bit different approach and thought process that I wanted to walk you through today with computer vision and AI. And then Everest Labs also has robotic arms automated, what I just consider as a whole automated recovery equipment using AI. So certainly can target various materials, be very specific about its targeted materials. So we can always talk more about that. I'm going to show you just on this last slide my email down at the bottom there. Very, very straightforward. Please use the .ai rather than the .com, and reach out anytime. Would love to talk you through what computer vision AI modeling can deliver as far as information and support for your program decisions, your capital investment, your rate changes, and to utilize that MRF environment, that MRF ecosystem as sort of your data collection foundation. Thanks, Rachel. I'll stop.